Project tools and skills are very important for today's organizations. Chapter 1 provides you an overview of project management. We will get into more detail as we work through the remaining of the chapters. Think about all the kinds of projects that are likely to be done in your area. There are several areas to consider. The traditional project work typically addresses very large, complex projects in such areas as healthcare and government work. These projects often take months and years to accomplish. Keep in mind, project work has extended far beyond these kinds of large-scale, complex projects to include projects like new product and service development. Organizations are constantly having to update and create new products and services for their customers. Because the life cycle of projects and services are becoming much shorter, anytime an organization wants to develop a new project or implement a new service, project management skills are beneficial. Organizations are constantly having to reinvent themselves to increase efficiencies and effectiveness. Organizational processes refer broadly to the activities that organizations must do in their work, such as the selection and recruiting of new employees, recruiting new students, applying for admissions, and procedures for gathering and using data to improve processes. Because a new initiative is likely to be a unique effort with a distinct time frame, it can be characterized as a new project. As these projects grow in size and complexity, project tools and skills become more and more important to us. As we move through this course, think about the recommendations from your educational Lean project. During the next 3 weeks, you will have the knowledge and skills to implement the recommendations from your project. If you are not in a position to implement the recommendations, you will have a well-established plan to hand off to the project owner. Projects have certain characteristics that drive how they are best led and accomplished. These next few slides addresses some of these characteristics. The Project Management Institute defines a project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. Projects are unique in the things they are to produce, the deliverables. Projects do not have to be so unique that no one has ever done one, even remotely similar to it. What is produced for a client may be similar to other products produced for other clients. Even term papers or term projects are unique from one another. They can be similar in many ways, but each is a never-done-before project. To the extent the deliverable is unique and novel, project tools and skills can play more of a productive role for those who have them. Each new project usually requires a new team, has new stakeholders, and requires a new set of resources. Each of these are unique in themselves and in the challenges they may provide. Working with the process, the stakeholder relationships, a project will provide a unique set of work requirements, such as a student project will provide a unique work requirement and challenges each semester. Students can usually relate to the fact that they are constantly faced with new and unique challenges in class. Another defining characteristic of projects is the time limitation. They do not repeat themselves over and over again like an organizational process. They have a beginning and an ending point. This is known as the project life cycle. According to Cobb, our book's author, he breaks down a project's life cycle into 5 phases. The first phase is initiation. Before investing too many resources into a project, you need to make sure it is doable and that it is in one's own interest to do it. Think about this in terms of reviewing and taking a particular class. The next phase is the planning phase. Once an initial doability assessment has been made, more work needs to be done to draw up the blueprints of what needs to be done. In other words, the work scope, how long it takes, in other words, the schedule, and what the cost will be. This plan will be the principal tool used throughout the project to control its execution. The launch is the kickoff of a project. Getting started properly is an all-defining moment in the life cycle of any project. During the execution phase, the project is kept on track. Projects need constant attention to make sure everything stays on target. Finally is the closing. The closing of a project is not simply walking away. Deliverables must be delivered to the satisfaction of the client. And we also need to consider the relationships and how we close them down in a productive way. Project parameters are those elements of any project that are needed to do the project. The project scope is all the work that needs to be done to accomplish the project. Most problems arise in projects because some project tasks are overlooked in the project planning. Everything in planning depends on the correct scope of the project, the correct specification of the work. The project time refers to the total time of the project's life cycle. This time will be broken down and devoted into the specific project tasks that make up its scope. The result is a project schedule applied to the tasks that need to be done. Doing the project work requires resources which cost money. These costs are estimated and placed into a project budget. The point to be made here is that the project scope, time, and cost are all interconnected. If you change one, it's likely that you're going to have to change one or two of the others. Deliverables have been added to emphasize the ideal that if the client seeks to change the output of a project, this will have an effect on one or more of the parameters. A defining characteristic of this book is its emphasis on project leadership. Even project tools and skills are addressed from the perspective and needs of project leadership. Leadership is usually broken down into two areas that require attention from the leaders. First, making sure the work gets done, and second, working with and through others to get the work done. Under project leadership, we have two dimensions, task dimension and social psychological dimensions. Task dimensions are well addressed by project management tools and skills. These cover most of the traditional management tools and skills needed by any leader as they apply to the unique nature of projects. Because leaders need to work through others to get the work done, they need some level of skill in the social and psychological realms of project work. We focus on two primary areas that require leadership attention: teams and our stakeholders. Project teams are the principal workforce that produce whatever the project is to. It's pretty clear that project leaders lead the project teams. Stakeholders are everyone else who has a stake in what the product will produce and how the project will be conducted. Stakeholders, especially when they are powerful stakeholders, determine a great deal of how projects will actually be done. They also play a key role in even defining what is a successful or unsuccessful project. Project leaders then need to pay as much attention to what is going on outside the project as the team itself. This concludes an overview of the book. The next presentation will deal with the initiation stage.